but it's quite understandable कि एक शुद्ध हिंदी में कोई व्याख्यान दे पाना आज के समय में उतना ही चुनौतीपूर्ण है जितना कि मशीन लर्निंग जैसी चीजों को सीखना। और इस व्याख्यान के थ्रू मैं ये भी दिखाना चाहूँगा कि ये मशीन लर्निंग, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, ये सारी तकनीकी व्यवस्थाएं कैसे हमारे जो मूलभूत बुनियादी चीजें हैं उनको अवॉइड करने की तरफ हमें ट्रेन कर रही हैं। सो आई विल स्टार्ट विद माय स्लाइड्स।
स्लाइड शेयर कर लीजिए सर।
यस यस। It is disabled. Whosoever is controlling, please enable it.
Now you can see us, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do my slides are visible? आप सब स्लाइड्स देख पा रहे हैं मेरी?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So जैसा कि टॉपिक है, so what I'll try to do be bilingual so that जो संगोष्ठी का संकल्प है वो भी पूरा हो और I would be able to convey what actually I want to do. So the topic of my talk is machine learning, mathematics and Hindi. Actually, I'm a bit biased with Hindi. It could be any language, not only Hindi, with machine learning and mathematics. So as I have been told that the participants having a different exposure and they have coming from the different backgrounds of learning and teaching. So I'll
Dr.
take.
Yadav, sorry to disturb you. Your PPT is not visible. Some Zoom site is visible.
Please share again.
Please share again with your PPT.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it is now. Yes.
Okay. Actually, I'm new to Zoom. I'm habitual with Google Meet. Anyway, so I was about to explain machine learning, mathematics, and Hindi. So I'll take a couple of minutes to actually explain who are not very much familiar with this machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all those kind of things. So as I'm a teacher, so in my classroom teaching, what I took small examples to actually explain the critical concepts to my students so that not only they can understand, they can actually feel what is the soul of this particular concept. So if I try to explain the machine learning, particularly in a broader sense, artificial intelligence, to a student who is not very much familiar with this concept. So before going for artificial intelligence, if we look for what is the natural intelligence, or in more precise way, what is the human intelligence? So most of you might be a good rider, good driver of a car or a two-wheeler, or maybe some of you pilot if they are attending this session. So I'll take this driving concept as an example to actually understand what is this artificial intelligence and machine learning thing is. So those who are actually in current time are good driver or good riders, try to remember your first day when you started, first time you got the driving seat and you were just trying to understand what is the gear, what is the steering, what is accelerator, what is brake. So remember the first push you gave to your car, and probably what most of the time happens, the car stops and you started getting annoyed that, okay, I'm trying to do, but it's not happening. But you keep on doing this thing 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days, or more than that. And after some amount of time, you feel to understand that now what was the thing which I was not able to do in a long back, but now I can do it very efficiently. So this is what we call human intelligence. Our mind learns the things quickly, and if we train our mind, so it can master many things. So this is what we call the natural intelligence or the human intelligence. But if we try to do the same thing with the machines, if we try to mimic our mind or brain with a machine, and we train a particular machine to do a particular task, so this is called the machine learning. So this is a very rough idea one can have about the machine learning and artificial intelligence. So any machine which is actually trying to mimic the brain is actually a concept of artificial intelligence. And the way we are training it is called the machine learning. So there are numerous examples of machine learning in current day. For example, you might see face recognition, your spam filtering of your email, and many more things. I'll come up with more examples. But before we use those technologies and those things in our daily life, we must understand there are very crucial and fundamental mathematics which works behind these concepts. And actually, this talk is focused on those terms which actually we use in machine learning. So I have briefly jotted down few of the very fundamental things. The whole machine learning is not limited to only these things, but yeah, for a scratching point of view, they actually make sense. So linear algebra, differentiation, optimization, integration, probability theory, and functional analysis, they are actually into the core of any machine learning concept. So I'll be focusing on 2 or 3 aspects of this mathematical concept in this throughout the lecture. So introduction I already covered. So differentiation and integration, how these two things are actually the pillar of any machine learning model, will come to see. So you might have heard one more keyword that is called the deep learning. Deep learning is actually the synonymous kind of thing which I already explained in terms of machine learning. When we train any given model with the help of neural networks, so whatever learning it performs, it is actually we understand as a deep learning, or we call it as a deep learning technology. So in deep learning, I'll briefly explain how it actually does the things. You can take an example of classification of many things. For example, suppose you are trying to classify some patterns, that this is the thing which is following a particular pattern X1, and this is another thing which is following the particular class of X2. And this data is available with us. So what we can do, we can train or we can design a model which can take these given data as an input, and we can actually tell the outcome of this model at those points where we don't actually have the data. This is what all machine learning things do. They take some data and they do some learning, and they let us know what are the values of our desired outcome where we actually don't have the data. So this in this slide you can see I have drawn many circles. So the first pair of circles, which are x1 and x2, they actually correspond as an input variable. And what we do, in other words, we can treat them as a feature of any particular problem, like I explained in the classification kind of thing. Then what we do, we actually create an activation function. And what we do, we recursively use this activation function on this input data. And the number of times we actually use this activation functions, they are actually going to create the layers for our neural network model. So in this slide, you can see z equals to ax plus b, and sigma is actually the sigmoid function or any activation function. We have sigmoid, ReLU, many activation functions can be found in the literature. So what we do, we actually pass this ax plus b in this sigmoid function, and the number of times we are recursively using it, it is going to create the number of layers. For example, in this slide, z1, z2, z3, they are the first layer. If I use one more time, it will create one more layer, and so on. But how mathematically they work, how we are going to achieve from input layer to an intermediate hidden layer, there is a good mathematics actually works behind that, and matrices play a very important role here. We are going to see. So in this way, we can see that X is an input model, and we use the activation function to create the intermediary hidden layer, and we are getting the output. So overall, we can understand training a neural network means parameter optimization, typically via some form of the gradient descent. So here, this A, actually we call it as a matrix which actually has the weights, and B is the bias. So any neural network model or machine learning model, the objective is to actually have the optimal values of these A and B, and that can be achieved by using some optimization model, and the popular one are gradient descent or anyone. Once we go for gradient descent, here comes the role of differentiation. So we'll see how this differentiable thing works in the area of neural networks. And once you are done with the differentiation, then the role comes for the statistics. So those who are not very much familiar with matrices in fundamental, they are not commutative. So if I want to have the product of A and B, then definitely they are not going to be B into A. And in this way, actually, we find the dimension of any matrix if we multiply the matrices of different size, provided they are allowed to be multiplied. And most of the machine learning models are actually deployed on Python. And Python has a very rich libraries for many mathematical functions. So whatever multiplication or summation we wanted to use, there are keywords available in the Python library and can be used in this way, which is shown in the slide. So here there is one example. Suppose this circles are the given data, and what we actually plan to do here, we plan to fit this data by a nonlinear function, and we are looking for the values of this model for those points where actually we don't have the data. So for this, we have two kind of approaches. One of them is you just use the regression analysis for any nonlinear polynomial, or the another one is the neural network model. So f of x theta, theta transpose x, this is our classical fitting model, and nn x theta, this is what we are going to see here. So it requires the training of data. We needed a pair of points, inputs and observations, and then training of the model and the optimal values of this theta, which can be evaluated by using the gradient descent method or stochastic gradient method. And then we define a loss function, and the minimization of this loss function actually yields us the optimal values of this theta and for example, the weight matrices and the bias B. So if we go a little more in the differentiation, so it has in a different platforms, it has a different meaning. In a scalar form, we simply have the function f from R to R. In multivariate case, we have a function from Rn to R. When we go to the vector fields, then the pattern of differentiation further changes, and we need to have a function from Rn to Rm. And in general derivatives, we can define a function from Rm m cross n, mean different dimensional structure to different dimensional structure. It depends on how our data is given and what kind of features we are choosing to have any fruitful outcome. So this is very fundamental, very fundamental. Everyone knows the scalar differentiation. These are few examples, and these are the sum rules and how we can use for product, and how it works for chain rule. So I'll quickly skip these slides because they are very fundamental. But the moment we go to the higher dimensions, then the definition of differentiability slightly changes. And then here comes the role of partial derivatives. And this is the general definition of any partial derivative, because stochastic gradient descent method or gradient descent method are the very integral part of any machine learning method. So you need to have a very clear idea about the partial derivatives, because they are going to be the very integral part of any optimization algorithm in terms of classical things. And when we wanted to have these partial vectors in terms of matrices, so we can have the Jacobian or this kind of matrices, which actually allows us to store a class of vectors. This is a silly example where one can have understanding how we can actually evaluate the partial derivatives and gradient. The same sum product and chain rule works here as well. And this is actually how we define loss function in any neural network model. And if we try to connect it with the linear algebra, it is going to be L of E, where E is the loss function, 1 by 2 E transpose T. Here 1 by 2 is taken as a multiple, just to have a nice structure in terms of differentiation, because whenever you are optimizing any function, if you multiply it with any non-zero scalar, so it doesn't change its optimal value, it remains the same. And where this E is actually Y minus AX, where Y is the fitted data, means one of is the fitted data and one of is the observed data. And in almost every machine learning model, we aim to actually have the minimal value of this E. And this can be done simply if we use for gradient descent method. So we can go for partial differentiation. And in that cases, we can use what we already explained in terms of partial derivatives. And we can have the partial derivatives in a form of a row vector or a column vector. If we further enhance this idea from n-dimensional vector space to m-dimensional vector space, so the same partial derivatives can take this kind of a structure, and we can have the same thing in terms of matrices. And sometimes we call them as a Jacobian matrix. So here we again take an example where we are taking function as a matrices, where fx is equal to ax, and we can actually differentiate this function fx in terms of matrices, and that can be defined by defining the gradient and then gradient vectors. For example, these coefficients a11, a1n, they actually created from the Jacobian matrix. And then this chain rule helps here. And this is a two-dimensional example for the same thing. And we can actually create df by dx and dx by d2 in a form of a 1 cross 2 and 2 cross 1 vectors. And we can compute the gradients by using the chain rule. And the moment we get the gradient functions from Rd to Re, it creates the E cross D matrix, and we can have df by dx stored in a matrix of order E cross D, and the same can be accessed through the partial derivatives. And further, we can generalize to a more generalized case, and we can apply it in this particular way. And in case, because sometimes in machine learning models, we need to handle the images, and images, those who are aware with the fundamental idea of image processing, saved on a computer in a form of a matrices. If they are the grayscale matrices, then they are stored in a 2 cross 2 matrix. But if you wish to store a colored image or a more like a 4K image or a high definition graphics image, then we need to have a concept of tensors, where the same can be stored for any given image. So the concepts which I explained from the 1 dimension to n dimension, it can be further enhanced to any dimension, and we can do with the same thing. That is what we call here as a high order tensors. So again, now come back to how we actually train the single layer neural network model. So what we are taking here, this X is actually an input vector. It can be understood as a feature of any given problem. And this tan hyperbolic is actually one of the activation function, like we already saw for the sigmoid function. So what we do, we process this ax plus b in the tan hyperbolic function, and then we use the given data, and we create these matrices m cross m by the way we explained the partial derivatives, and then we create the loss function to actually have the error values. And once we optimize the error values, then we can have the values of a and b, and they are going to be the optimal value for our given trained model. So it can be mathematically achieved by creating these M cross M
connectivity
matrices
problem,
in terms
technical
of
problem.
vectors, and del F by del Z
Dr. Sabir?
is actually a diagonal matrix
Kavita,
which
can you
has
hear me?
the diagonal entries 1 minus 10 hyperbolic
Kavita?
square Z, where Z are the part of the input features. And if we go for the
voice-
Python platform, so in Python platform, we already have a feature for
Dr.
this
Kavita?
one, and it can be done by accessing the library of
इसमें
INSA.
problem.
So we recursively use this concept, and one time, two time, three time, and every time it creates a particular hidden layer and it reaches over the learning structure. So here you see the thing which I was pointing about the loss function. So this L theta 1 by 2 E transpose, which is written here as norm E square, and E minus Y, E minus FZ theta, where this Y is actually the input data, and FZ theta is what we are achieving from recursive use of activation function. We learned two activation function. One of them is sigmoid and another one is the tan hyperbolic, which I have written here. And then we are actually minimizing this L theta by using the concept of gradient descent. And in gradient descent, we need to have the partial derivatives of this loss function L theta, which we can evaluate by using the chain rules. And they are explicitly presented here. And what we do, we actually optimize the values of this A and B, which are A, X plus V, which are involved in A and B. And as I already explained, this A is actually a bias coefficient of weights, and B is the bias matrix. And what we do, we, in this picture, if you try to understand, we have given an input feature to the first layer. And what we are actually trying to do, we are using this activation function by optimizing the values of A and theta, and we'll achieve to the value of F1. And whatever we have achieved, we'll process the same thing into the second layer, and we'll recursively use the same thing again. And we'll do it as longer as we have defined in the initial model. So if you see here, we started with F naught equals to X. We first time use the F1 equals to sigma I, and we process this evaluated optimal values of A and B, and we will get the value of F1. Recursively, we'll have the value of F1, F2, and F3. And each F0, F1, F2, F3, and so on, and this has to be a predefined number. They actually have one of the column of the hidden layers, and they are actually providing the learning to the model to actually get the data for those values for which the input is not available. And ultimately, this L theta is optimized using gradient descent method. And in the same way, we can define the multi-layered model where we can have various features. And the similar kind of partial derivatives concept we can utilize here again to train the model in a recursive manner. So this is training neural networks as a maximum likelihood estimator. We train a neural network in a way to correspond
Dr.
to a
Yadav.
maximum likelihood.
You have 10 minutes
And
more, sir.
we provide. Okay, thank you. I'll summarize soon. So we process this NNX theta. This NNX theta is the model we developed from our neural network model. And then we'll process this one in this log P function, and we can have the maximum likelihood estimation. So overuse of this concept can lead to a overfitting, means it will try to fit your model in a more precise way. So theoretically it will look very efficient, but if you go with the realistic value, it may not be as helpful as it has to be. So while using this maximum likelihood estimator, one has to be cautious. It should not lead towards the overfitting. So linear regression is one of the example of this one. We can start with this function y equals to f of x theta plus epsilon, and we can write this one in terms of a series. It's like a Taylor series, and theta naught, theta 1, theta 2, these theta naught, theta 1, theta 2, they actually needed to be determined with the help of optimal values obtained from the gradient descent method while optimizing this loss function. So in a one way we want to explain it here, what we do, suppose y is the data given to us. So what we do in neural network models, basically which works behind machine learning, this y is given to us. We actually create a model f of xi theta by getting an optimal values of theta, and then what we do, we minimize this function L theta. See here, in the very ideal case, the value of L theta has to be 0, but in reality it will never happen. So what we do, the least possible values of L theta for the corresponding value of x, they are going to lead us the model, or in terms of regression or curve fitting, what actually it does, it provides this kind of function which actually fit the our given data in such a way so that if, for instance, suppose at this point of time you don't have the input data, but the moment you fit this data with the help of this nonlinear function by using neural network model, we can have the input of here and we can have the output on the y-axis. So this is how we actually do in any linear regression model. But in linear regression, we use the polynomials only. But in neural network, we use the neural network models where we recursively use the activation function. So it was actually the very basic mathematics which works behind any neural network or machine learning model. In this short time, it's actually very difficult to explain in details how actually they work and how one can learn, but they are actually working very well and people are using their real life. If I go for the real-time application of this machine learning model, Siri in Apple, you ask anything to the Siri and most of the time it replies you what you wishes as an answer. So this technology works on this deep learning and neural network models. The similar kind of thing, Alexa developed by Amazon, it does the similar thing, and your Google Assistant do the same thing. And this neural network model we see in our Google Maps because